therapeutic process. Like, what is that, right? So this is our communication, which involves verbal and nonverbal. And, it's important that people realize that these are therapeutic for a reason, right? This is what you're supposed to do. And if you already work in the health field, you might see a lot of these things are just thrown out the window and people just act the way they want to, and we see the consequences of that, right? So if you're fresh at this and you knew this, or you've already been here, you know what we're talking about here, right? So the therapeutic, what is it? Clarifying and validating, encouraging and formulating. And you're going to read through it. I'm not going to go through all that. I want to specifically pinpoint the ones that I've seen on the questions more so, right? That's giving information and presenting reality. So a lot of times the questions talk about, like, the person says, I see things and I do this. Now, it's not your place to be like, yeah, there are ants in here, aren't there? Because you feel sorry. And no, you need to be able to be firm and steadfast on what the reality is and help the person see reality for what it is. It's not because you want to brush them off and you want to have them stop bothering you. No, you're here to help this person get better, not to reinforce the problems that they have, right? So giving them the facts, there are no ants crawling on you, or this is the fact, there's no one after you, we're here, you're safe, right? Stating the facts of the present so that this person can be reoriented, come back to focus into reality. And that is one thing that's really important, okay? Then the next point too is providing acknowledgement and feedback. So knowing that this person is facing something that is challenging to them and acknowledging that is very important to that individual, right? A lot of times, especially in society, oh, they're just crazy. Well, they have a coping problem, right? Something is bothering them, something caused them to get here. Acknowledging that there's a stressor, acknowledging that there's an issue it reinforces that, I might have an issue right now, but there's a certain reality to it as well, right? And so acknowledging them and getting them to see that I'm here with you. I hear you. I see that there's an issue, and let's see how we can get from here to a better place. But listening, right? Acknowledging it really gives the person like this validation, right? This thing, oh, I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? Like there is an issue. There might be an issue, right? And maybe you're not going to think of it like, maybe if I was in this position, girl, I don't know what I would do with myself. Like, you're not going to go to that, right? But just acknowledging that there's a problem. Restating, right? Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you're saying this, that. Not putting your own words into the person's mouth, but restating what they said so that they can hear that you've acknowledged and that you heard, and this is exactly what you're hearing, right? And if you're incorrect, they'll correct you, but restating so that they can see that you have heard, and you want them to hear in their own words what they're saying to you, right? And then the next thing is using broad, open-ended questions. So again, we want these people to talk, right? This individual, we want to have whatever's inside that they're confining and they're holding in and they don't know how to cope with. We want to hear what it is. Like, what got you here? We don't want to hear yes and no, right? We want to understand the details. We want to understand the experience around it, and what happened first and what happened next. And if it's not always easy to have them open, right? And so it might take them time, and that's okay. You being okay with it being okay, that they're not going to open up and tell you their whole life story on the first day they see you, right? It's not because you're not a good clinician that they're not going to tell you everything right away. It's because they need to trust you. They need time, but you need to ask the right questions, right? In the right way, right? And taking from what they're saying to flesh out more information. And if you've worked in the field, and I know you have, and sometimes, and I've had this experience being a relatively new NP, having been in the room with a patient by myself, and we're asking questions and they're answering my questions, and I thought everything went well. And then the doctor comes in, right? And then he asked a question that I didn't think to ask, and the patient said, yeah, and this happened and that. And I'm like, what? You didn't say that to, and then I feel so stupid which I shouldn't. It's just I didn't know the questions to ask. So as you become familiar with this field and what kinds of questions and what kinds of problems, you'll know the right questions to ask in order to have your patient open up and give you the answers that you're looking for that will help you find the problem. So don't be fretful if you can't find them in the beginning. But again, you have your books, you have your coworkers. If you're stumped and you don't know, like, I don't know how to get to this person, how to get her to open, ask questions and people will help you, right? Now let's talk about the non-therapeutic. Okay, these are our no-nos. We're not doing this, right? Why? This is one that they mention a lot on the exam, right? They'll talk about this person and what it might be non-therapeutic, and they'll have all these things that the nurse might say, and then in one of them it'll say why, right? No whys, because this passes judgment. And as you see, it says making value judgments, right? You're not here to make this person feel bad or make them think like that's not the choice they should have made. That's not your place, right? We're restating. We're not asking, well, why did you choose? Even though it's innate in us. Like, it's like I find myself about to say, well, the reason that, like, you have to like fix your mouth sometimes when you're new, because you want to ask, well, why you did that? Like, what was in your head, But we have to refrain and try our best and definitely not do that, right? And then the next thing says, give advice or approval or disapproval. That is not what we're doing, right? Because here's the thing, when you give advice, the person, especially the position that you're in, they're gonna tend to either want to take that advice, right? And then it's a problem, right? That's not you. You're helping them make decisions for themselves, because that's the problem. They don't have the right tools in order to make the right choices and decisions and to do things on their own, right? We need to help them build that. So no, you're not going to just tell them what to do. You want them to come up with that themselves. So no, and disapproval, a lot of they've had disapproval enough. They don't need that from you. They need reassurance. Not to say that you're going to be like, well, yeah, you did a great job in hurting that person. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about approval of the bad behavior. We're trying to understand the bad behavior, right? To see why the bad behavior was there, right? But not telling them, now you shouldn't have done that. No, that was a poor choice. No, we're not doing that, right? And then the value judgment, which we just talked about. Okay, any questions thus far? I know I go a little fast, but any questions thus far? Anyone wants any clarifications, any more in-depth on anything? We're at the 30-minute mark, so we'll just keep on going. All right. So now we're talking about mental health. Like, what is mental health, right? So mental health is the successful adaptation to a changing internal and external environment. And that's important to know. It's both external and internal, right? So external as in, like, husband did something and, job, they lost their job or something happened in the environment. But internal is also my thoughts, my perceptions of how I feel about whatever's happening, right? Or maybe it's, physical, but it's pertaining to me and the experiences that I'm going through, right? That has nothing to do with other people have done, but it's my thoughts and my ideas and how I feel, right? A lot of times it stems from the external, right? But a lot of times it's not even connected to that. It's just me, right? And the perception. Okay. And then continues and says mental health individual is in contact with reality. And that's important to know, right? Because you might say, like, oh, everyone's reality is different. Not really, right? Once someone is not within the norms of our society, and societies are different. Societies are different, right? We have certain cultures that we talked about, and that they do certain things one way and the others do certain things another way. And but it doesn't have, it's not necessarily cultural, right? The norms of what's real, it's real, just reality. Like, this is a mug. This is the mug. There's nothing on the mug. I mean, there's a sticker on the mug, right? What's real is real for everyone, right? And so if a person is not connected to reality and they're somewhere in their mind, somewhere in, they're confabulating things and they're imagining things, and they're in this fantasy world, or their perception is out of warp with what we know to be real, then there's a mental health issue there. Right? And then the mental health individual has psychobiological resilience. And that right there is a key thing, that resilience, right? Resilience talks about being able to withstand, right? And let's be real, like everyone's resilience or threshold for taking things can be different, right? You have some people, they say, oh, black don't crack. And that's a problem because that's not true. People of different color, different shades, different whatever, they do reach a point where they can't take things anymore, right? And they don't have the mechanism in place to resist and to withstand and to take what's coming at them at this present moment. And so, but resilience, it's fluid, right? It depends on my environment. It depends on my mental status. It depends on maybe my religion. It depends on my space at the moment. I could be resilient when I was 20 years old and I'm 50 now and I don't feel that resilience, or it could be the other way around, depending on whatever it is, right? It could be maturity, whatever the reason is that's making the person resilient. It's psychobiological, right? It's first not only the mind, but also the physical, the ability to take things, like being able to, let's say I'm working hard and I have sleepless nights and I'm working 20 hours a day, right? The brain can't take all of that. You need time to rest so that you can sleep, so the cells can rejuvenate. So a lot of times people go manic because it's too much physical stress to their body, and all they have nervous breakdowns, not only because of psychological stress but also physical stress that's added to that. So we need to be both physically and psychologically resilient, being able to withstand certain things. And again, not everyone is the same. So that's why you can't judge people. You can't say, well, I've been through it, you can go through it, or your mama's done it and your sister's done it, so you can do it. No, every person is an individual and they all react differently and they all respond differently. They all have different thresholds, and we're supposed to acknowledge that and know that everyone is the same. For more information on how to register for classes and get help from our tutoring center, visit www.gab-nicnursingtutor.com. That is www.gabnicnursingtutor.com. To view our free or paid classes, sign up on www.thinkific.com. That's www.thinkific.com, and register for the pre-recorded classes of your choice after searching for the Gab-Nic Tutoring Center uploads. We offer in-person tutoring and Zoom calls. You can also find us on YouTube for more free classes and tips on how to do better in nursing. We are also on Facebook, where we upload articles, tips, and tricks on how you can make your journey to becoming a nurse smooth and near effortless. Did I mention Instagram? Basically, we are everywhere. So check us out or call 917-602-9927 and we will tell you just how to join. See you soon.